Good timing. All right, we're going to get started, everyone. We got full quorum today. Okay. All right, good morning. We're going to call to order the June Parks, Recs, and Greenway meeting, June 2nd at 9 a.m. Call to order. We do not have anyone, so no remote participation is needed. First up is the adoption of today's agenda as published. Make a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. The attached minutes from last month's meeting, you should have had a chance to review. Any questions or feedback on that? Okay, with that, I make a motion to adopt the May minutes as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Next up, we have public comment. And Austin, do we have anyone signed up?
First up is Kim Vandenberg, 806 Cappington Lane.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kim Vandenberg, 806 Cappington Lane. Though this is a Parks, Recreation, and Greenways meeting, I'm using my public comment to raise a village matter directly connected to this board's responsibilities and one the public needs to be aware of. As I understand it, the proposed settlement discussed at last night's council meeting could involve returning or otherwise impacting an easement associated with Village Greenway property, a matter that falls squarely within the interest and oversight of Parks, Rec, and Greenway. Because of that connection, I believe this board and the public should understand the circumstances surrounding the discussion that occurred. I'm not here to accuse anyone. I'm describing what happened in open session at last night's council meeting because on its face, the sequence of events is concerning. We do not yet know the settlement details, but the sequence itself matters, both in the situation and potentially to its outcome. Councilmember Bob Nunnenkamp asked to recuse himself from the vote concerning the easement litigation. The reason was a communication from the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, which members of council openly described as a threat, that the plaintiffs intended to add Mr. Nunnenkamp to the lawsuit personally. Mr. Nunnenkamp was not seated on council until November of 25, approximately 2 years after the events underlying this litigation, and had no involvement in the contested issues. If that threat is acted upon, he could face personal litigation expenses over a matter he had nothing to do with and for which the village may not provide coverage. All of this was stated in open session before council entered closed session. Mr. Nunnenkamp was not permitted to recuse himself. That request was voted down. Council then entered closed session, made whatever decision they made, and upon returning, council announced that only there was a proposed settlement, the first statement of its kind during this litigation, but provided no details. I don't know how anyone voted, and I'm not the one characterizing this situation. These were council's own words last night: threat, influencing a vote, and comparisons to jury tampering. Taking council at its own word, the question becomes whether the vote or settlement discussions were influenced by that threat. So, I ask, did any other council members receive a similar threat? Was the outcome, including any proposed disposition or return of an easement connected to Village Greenway property, influenced by threats from the plaintiffs? And how did the plaintiffs know how council members were leaning or who to pressure if these deliberations were supposed to be confidential? Because these matters were discussed in open session, the related records should be public, and I intend to request, actually I've already requested them, and the same questions were also submitted in writing to last night to the mayor, council, and the village attorney. These are questions, not accusations, but what I heard last night, I believe without a doubt that a thorough review is required before the village proceeds with any settlement involving public property, easements, or greenways affecting this board and the residents of Marvin. I would encourage other residents to ask questions as well. Plainly, this does not feel right. Thank you. I'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have anyone else for public comment.
And you guys only wanted to do your presentation, right? Okay, so you're good to go on.
Great, thank you. So first up on our agenda is the discussion around the historical signs. First off, I want to welcome and thank the family members and folks from the AME Church as well who are here today. I'm sure they'll introduce themselves, but it's been a tremendous process in the last several months to get to know the family and the community, and excited to introduce them to our board and talk about the future planning on the signage. So with that, I think Angel, you're going to be speaking and introduce the others to our team.
Now it's on. Come. So I'm Angel Martin. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Marvin, and this is Reverend McKinney. He is the great-grandson of Mittie Bell Ross Houston, and we have met with him and many of the descendants and the Marvin Historical Society multiple times to create what you guys have in your hands, hopefully today. And I'm going to let him talk about this a little bit and kind of walk you through how it evolved. Have you guys made any decisions yet on signage? Like, how are you guys leaning on that?
Actually, our topic right after this. So
Okay, okay.
This is perfect because it's going to lean in, and I think maybe just that context too.
I think we may have made one decision on the larger sign that's going
I
in.
don't think you guys voted, though. But that's why I
Okay.
stuck this after this, just so you guys can hear the
Okay.
presentation and then kind of wrap up decisions, because we've honestly got to move forward.
But none on the signage. in
Okay,
terms of the-
okay, that's fine. Well, so this came out of assuming that we were going to do the 24 by 36 signs. Obviously, if we need to change it, we can. But this came out of doing 5 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Reverend. And
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us and giving us this opportunity to Mayor Pro Tem Angel and Councilmember Resch. Thank you. And Deb Sokol, we thank you also with the PNRG board and Ms. Trawl. Thank you so much for your participation and coming out and seeing exactly the process in which we went through and getting all the information and coming up with how we wanted to present this park that is dedicated to the Ross Houston family. First of all, I just wanted to let everyone know that though it is called the Ross Houston Park, it is just one family. We don't consider the Ross sisters as being a different set of family members because they raised my great-grandmother and her father, Bob Ross. They considered him a brother. And for that reason alone, they are family. They are family. So we want to make sure that we have that distinction. Yes, it is the Ross Houston Park, but we want to make sure that it is distinguished as being a family park, and wanted to make sure that everyone understands that. The way we came up with everything and the work that Lauren has done and my cousin Bruce Vincent, one of the trustees there at Marvin Amy Zion, and Brother Sid Walker, a cousin, also being there, we wanted to make sure that everyone understood that this is an endeavor of love. An endeavor of love. And if we can all just remember that it's about the love that these 2 ladies had for someone that did not belong to them, that didn't look like them, but they thought it was up to them, given to them by their faith and their belief that to love someone other than themselves. And that's one of the great commissions that God said. Love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. Then love your neighbor as yourself. They did that. So the very first part of this right here in your program there that you have is Welcome to Houston Park, the Houston Ross Park. And it tells the story of a family. And if you see on there, those are a lot of relatives that I recognize, and I'm sure that when descendants come here and they see that, they're going to stop and they're going to be enamored with, oh, I didn't know that was so-and-so. I didn't know that was so-and-so. And even those that don't know, they're going to recognize someone because they have had an opportunity to meet a relative of these people here that have passed on, and some are still here. Bob Ross was my Grandma Mitty's dad, and he was considered a fine man because the Ross sisters considered him as a brother. Their mother adopted Bob Ross, so to say. It was like today's social services. She saw a need to love someone, to help someone. She saw that his mother was struggling, and they didn't look away. You know, sometimes we see people struggling, and we look away because it offends us to a point to where that it brings back things in our lives that we just really don't want to deal with. But they decided that regardless of the culture, regardless of what society was saying, they want that she was going to adopt this little boy and raise him amongst her children and consider him a son. So it tells that. And when you go on into the very first page, A Mother's Love, talks about that where Rosa was an unmarried mother living in Marvin, and had her 4-year-old son, Robert, was taken away from her. That's Bob Ross. She wasn't agreeing with it, but at the end of the day, she really didn't have much say about it. She didn't really have much say about it. And in the end, I always go back to God's word. Everything works for the good of those that love the Lord and call for his purpose. Everything. And that love that Rosa had for her son, and that love that the Ross sisters' mother had for Bob Ross, covered a multitude of everything that was going on around them. So it talks about that mother's loss of losing her son, but also her son not being lost, but finding love, still being loved. And that's important. That's important to be the very first sign that when you start this journey on this path that we have in the park, it's going to be in the park, you understand how it all came about. All of it, about the love of someone other than yourself. It starts there. And if we will get back to that within the community, because this is what it's about the community. And when you want the community to be that what it could be, what it should be, and what it was at that particular time, I'm sure we all agree that this world would be a whole lot better place. So it has that. And then we go over to two families, yes. And I hope it's not considered where two families, they think it is separate when people walk that path. Yes, it was two families. One, the Ross family adopted Bob Ross, raised him, and then raised my grandmother, my great-grandmother, Mittie Bell Houston. Yes, that's two families. But it's one family that came together. Out of all of this right here, it is one family, not two families. It's one family. And I hope that the community, I hope that the board members understand that this is about community. I'm going to say that a lot of times when I'm doing this presentation. This is about community. It's not about separate families over here or families over there. This is about a community, because we are stronger when we work together. When we love one another, we are stronger to where nothing comes between us, and we can always overcome that which comes to try to defeat us if we are just a community. So it's two families. The Ross siblings who lived in this grand house, and again, they raised my great-great-grandfather, Bob Ross, and raised him as a brother, because their brother had passed away. And they raised him and gave him the responsibilities that a brother at that time would have. He's responsible for taking care of the family, making sure that his sisters were taken care of, making sure that they had food to eat, made sure that they had a way of making a living and had an income coming in. He passed away. And they didn't look to hire someone else. They looked to Bob Ross to continue that. And he did that willfully because he loved those sisters. He loved his sisters. Right? So, and then we go over to the panel number 3. And it talks about the inheritance. No one would have ever thought that when those sisters were writing out a will, that they were going to put a little black girl in that will, her and her father, and that they would inherit everything. not just some things, everything that they owned. Just think about, in a time and a culture such as that, growing up in that particular time, there's no way that anyone would have thought, yep, that's what's going to happen. They're going to leave it to that little black girl, Mittie Bell Houston, and her father, Bob Ross. That was not going to happen. So they had family members that would come out, and they protested the will as to that they thought they should have it because of name only. Nothing that they had done to show that they cared about the Ross sisters. No way of showing love, a sense of community to those that were their relatives. But people in the community were paying attention to Bob Ross and my great-grandmother, Mittie Bell Houston, what they were doing for the Ross sisters. They were paying attention. And as again, community, when you have a community that is built on love, others will see it and know it is a community. So they took my great-grandmother to court and protested the will. Protested the will because they thought that they should have it and that there's no way that these Ross sisters were in their right mind, that they would even think in a time like this right here, leaving it to this black girl, this black man. No, it was not to happen. So they took him to court. But in that inheritance, a community stood up and said, yes, this is what has happened. We witnessed it, and the sisters were in their right mind. They had very clear and clarity of their faculties of what they were doing, and the courts eventually upheld the will. Upheld the will. So we're going over to panel number 4. And this sacred land that we're talking about here, the old church that's right down the street here, Old Marvin Amy Zion Church. Heidi and I grew up in that church. The lands that they built, my great-grandmother and her husband, Grandpa Tone, built their home. They sent Grandma Mittie to college. She went to college. They sent her to college. They left land for Bob Ross. They gave them valuable trinkets that they had passed along to Bob Ross and Grandma Mittie. It was this land. It's something to think about. You're talking about over 700 acres. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing, boggling to think about that. When we get together as a family and we go, can you imagine the way land costs around here today? Can you imagine? But nevertheless, it's still a community. And when others were coming into the community, they felt a sense of community. Whether they got land from Grandpa Tone, going to the local store and getting goods and services, and then not having the money to pay for it. So at that time, they would sign away just little pieces of land. And that's how they paid for it. And that's how it got down, the land got down to where it is. So there are still family members that have land in the Marvin area. My grandfather, cousin Charles Houston, his family, which was Uncle Patty Cake in Aunt Georgia, have land. Aunt Florence, which was the oldest child of Grandma Mittie and Grandpa Tone, her family still has land. So there's still land that belongs to the family there. My parents have passed on, but we still have land there in Marvin. So it's still there, but it's a sacred land, and we wanted to preserve it in a way that we could always remember when. why, how this all came about. A sense of community, a sense of community. Sacred places. There was a school here that is right down the street. That was the Western Union School. It burned down years and years ago, even before the new church, which is over on Crane Road, was built. There was a school that my mother-in-law, she went to school there as a child. And many of the black children in this area that 89, 90 years old or older that may still be living or have passed on, that is the only school that was in Union County for black children to go to school. That was the school. And so that's the sacred ancestral land. And then we go to panel number 5, a family legacy. Grandma Mitty and Grandpa Tone had 6 children. 6 children. Aunt Florence was the oldest. Uncle DC Uncle DC wasn't he was the second oldest. And then Uncle Patty Cake. They call him Pat. We call him Uncle Patty Cake. And then my grandfather, Hop Houston, Robert T. Houston, he was named after his father, Tom Houston. And then we have Uncle Collins, and we have Uncle Irvin, was the baby boy. So we have those, and we have a legacy. And when you look down through there, I believe my grandfather, Robert Houston, has the most children and descendants that are still living today. Yeah, out of all of those 13 children that Grandpa Robert and Grandma Janie had, 10 are still living. 10 are still living today. And those are grandchildren, not great-grandchildren. Those are grandchildren. There are only, I believe Yvonne and her sister, 2. Yeah. And Collins Jr. Collins Jr., is he still living? No, Collins Jr. has passed, but Yvonne and her sister. And Kenneth. Yeah, so there are only about 13 or 14 grandchildren that are still living today. The rest of them are great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and so forth. But grandchildren, there's only about 14 grandchildren still living today. And that's a legacy. We have, I was talking to Sid, we have a doctor of dentistry in the family now. My first cousin is an anesthesiologist now. So we have a legacy that goes back to that little lady, that little bow-legged lady that I used to see walk down across that field, come in to check and see about my brother and I when we had chicken pox. So that little lady and Grandpa Tone, just a legacy of family, of community. And when we get together as a family and a community, the last time we had a family reunion, we had almost 600 people at that family reunion. We had it right at Marvin and Amy Zion Church. And it was a magnificent day just to see family just coming in that you didn't know immediately, but if you looked long enough, you could tell, yep, that's Houston. So yeah, but a family legacy. So it is important that when the signage is placed out there around the park and people are walking, we want them to be able to stop and not just walk through, but stop and read the signage, and then you give them time to think about their own families, to think about this community that they have came into, and to understand that we may have our differences, We may have our different beliefs. But at the end of the day, just as that time was, a community decided that love and togetherness was more important than anything else. And that's what I would like for them to go down when they're going this as a time of reflection of hope. Hope that we can be better than we are today. Hope that we can be better so that our children, the descendants of each and every one of us, will be able to look and see that our legacy is not on what we have, it's not on our positions, but it is on one thing. How do we love and treat one another? That is a legacy worth leaving for everyone. How did we treat one another? How did this community of Marvin treat one another, their citizens? That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, lady.
Thank you so much.
We can open up for questions or feedback, because I guess that was absolutely wonderful, and I feel I have some more follow-up questions. But we also have discussion around the content itself, or is that going to be another piece? But
This
first
is-
off, go ahead.
So, you're still in the presentation right now, so this is a great opportunity to share feedback with them. After we finish here, then we'll talk about, do you want to do, are we sticking with the smaller sizes? Do we want to go
The
larger?
more the logistics. yeah.
Then the actual
Yeah.
locations and
Yes.
things of that
Yeah.
sort.
But I think, I guess, I know I have some questions, but it was wonderful. Thank you so much. The way you describe things, obviously, it's so hard to put this on the 5 slides, so I can only
Yes.
imagine. And so it was just
It
so
is.
beneficial to
Yeah.
hear more of the connections that you put together, first off. So I know that for me was very moving, because I haven't read the story, I met many of you, but the way you pulled it together, I love the themes you have, the community piece, the love, and the respect, but other things I wasn't aware of on the education side, and some of the other connections. So I think those are all things I hope we can also bring out of this as well, too. But first
Yes.
off, just thank you for those, putting it all together for us. But I'll open up to the group for any immediate feedback, but I do have some questions on specific slides and thoughts, but I don't want to go down that path without first kind of general impressions
I
from.
was just going to say, I didn't expect to go to church this morning, but it was a very good experience. If I didn't know you're a reverend, I know now.
Right. So, any initial feedback, thoughts? And then I'll bring
Well, I agree with your initial statements, so, in the interest of being brief, I'll second that.
Okay.
I think it was
Yes.
lovely to hear all of this pulled together, and there were some interesting details that came to light that I was previously unaware of, and so, I found them interesting, and then I think that if, when they're on the signs out here, other people will obviously find them enlightening and interesting as well, to bring this to everyone's attention. So I think it's great. You guys have obviously put a lot of thought and work into this. And like Christina said, it's very hard to drill all of that down into 5 slides, but reading along while you were talking, I think you've managed to make a good summary of it. So what are your
Yeah, so I guess my initial thoughts, I think the relationship of Bob and the sisters was really important, and I think I just was saying, if you could expand on that, because what I heard from you is it was more of like a sibling relationship, which I didn't quite, the initial, I think slide 1 or 2 was more, the family, adopted him, as you said, but then I think from your conversation, it was more really a love and a relationship. So I think just the context of them being more like brother and sister than, because I guess, if you don't know the whole story, you might read it as he was there to support the family, but the love that you brought forward, I think, was helpful to hear more. So he was more of a part of the family, too. So
Right.
that was kind of one, just, you painted the picture that I didn't get necessarily from reading that,
Okay,
too.
so,
Yeah,
so,
perhaps slide 2, where there's some, where there's still some blank space for.
yeah, so, in the very center, that is the document that gave the apprenticeship for Bob Ross, for Bob to the Ross family, okay? Again, their mother saw a need that his mother, his biological mother, was struggling. And they knew her, and I would think that they petitioned the state to have parental rights taken from her and given to them, or giving to her at the time, the Ross sisters' mom, giving to her. And Grandma Rosa, she wasn't, she wasn't happy about it. Who would be happy about losing their child? Regardless of the intent from family members. None of us would be like, yeah, I'll give you my child. No, we'd fight tooth and nail to keep. And I'm sure within the law, within her rights, that's what she did. But at the end of the day, in a time, in a place, in a culture as it was, it was a losing battle for her, okay? But it wasn't a loss for Bob Ross. As a child, I'm sure that he missed his mother. But as he grew up into the man that he became, was because of the Ross family, that love.
So on that slide,
Come up so they can hear you. I'm gonna go sit.
when we're talking about the apprenticeship and the law and the rules back then, the law had control over, after slavery ended, then apprenticeship came about, and it was an lawful way of continuing slavery. So the Ross sister's mother, when she went to the court and petitioned for Bob Ross, who is my great-great-grandfather, he was only 4 years old. And he was 4 when he came to the Ross family. And so I think what Lee is trying to explain, as he grew in that family, the sisters, at the time, they were in their, I think one was like 32, 33, and the other was like in her 20s. So I think they developed a love for this kid. And so I think the mom had other intentions, but the siblings' love grew for my grandfather. And we can put that in here, but it was limited with the 24 by 36 slide, that we could only put like 200 to 300 words. But I think we can try to tell that part, that the two sisters developed a relationship that surpassed apprenticeship. And that's how he inherited what they had. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have a baby, exactly. Yeah.
Sure, like, I didn't know if they also 4? Yeah, I didn't know if they were 4, but like you said, as you say, and maybe on slide 2, I'm just thinking, because I think it's really important, as you said, first off, the rules and why that was so terrible for his mother. You don't want to paint over that, but then, as you said, it transitioned into the love of the sisters.
But it's interesting that you highlighted that it was more the sisters than the mother.
Yes, the mother had died.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yes, the mother had died, but we can try to put that on the slide in a couple of sentences if allotted.
I've got an idea though, I don't know how this would all work out.
Yes.
But you speak so well, both of you speak so well about all of this and telling the story. Should we record a longer version, or a conversational version, so that, to your point with QR codes and all that, we can post it, on the website. And if somebody's out in there and they've got their phone, out in the, almost hit the fields, out in the park, they can hit the QR code, and your version of the story that's more conversational could, right, but I'm saying, but a recorded version of that, because it's a lot more interesting to hear you guys say it than to read it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to read anymore, right?
Yeah.
Right, they want to listen.
They wanna listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
It's just something to think about. You can hear passion. Exactly. Oh, I mean, there's so much that you get from conversation that you don't get from reading.
right, because you get mad at, okay, you have slavery, then you have apprenticeship, and I'll just say it, this white woman takes a 4-year-old into the home, and on the apprenticeship, on slide 1, it says on there that he is from age 4 to stay there until he's age 21. And when he leaves, he's supposed to leave with a suit, a new Bible, and I think $20.
Wow.
So that's what was initially his fate coming into the scene by the Ross mother. So the sisters turned that whole story around and said, you know, as he's growing up and living with them, and then he has a daughter, my great-grandmother, and they raised her, they sent her to college, and they're, you know, giving them places to stay and build homes while they're living. It is love, and, you know, I don't know if they thought that at age 25 and 30 when he initially came as a 4-year-old, but staying in the home. And then he was also, to Lee's point, when one of the brothers died, they handed over the family business where they had rented homes and everything to our grandfather. So he was going and collecting money for the sisters and working for them. They trusted him to do that. So I think the passion grew. They fell in love with this little kid, and then trusted him and treated him like family.
He became family.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly.
It was a symbiotic kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Raised the stakes and sent his daughter to
Yeah.
college.
Right.
Those are the things I was wondering if there's a way to capture that, because then as opposed to just jumping to the inheritance, because as you described, even there's a page where you talk about the land for the church that was built. So there's so much goodness that was happening that led up to the inheritance just before it just happened. So I think the
I just
education
think
and
telling the story is.
Yeah, I think especially because a lot of the history at that time is really passed down through spoken word. You know, not all of it was documented. So, you know, maybe having some recordings available through the QR codes and stuff that would be powerful. Also, there's, you know, the underlying issues that, you know, the rights that women had in and of themselves, with the Ross sisters being single women, the mother being a single mother, you know, initially. And you know, it was difficult for single women, even without having a man, to be able to navigate some of the intricacies of society at that time, you know.
Well, there's a line on slide 3. Minnie Bell was married, so she couldn't own property at the time. And
That's
didn't
right.
That's right.
for a very long
That's
time,
right.
by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they all,
That was still alive, so they
Right.
shared that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of human interest going
and I
on.
think it's great that you put some great pieces throughout it too. So
Yeah.
I think that's
I underlined that. I think we probably should sign
So I think some of those, and again, it's hard because it's small and it's gonna be much bigger, but some of the artifacts, like you said, the first page, there's some really good information written about the, you know, when he was given up to the family. So I'm wondering if maybe we can also look at how we can make those bigger, because those are the ones, and even the font on the will itself is so kind of interesting, but you don't wanna miss it. I know, I could never read
Well,
it.
if these, I
but,
mean,
you
they
know,
were intending
it's
these to be
gonna
24
bigger, so they
by
will be much
36.
bigger. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, and you can make sure it's clear enough that you can read it.
Right,
Yeah, you're
but-
not-
And we're gonna talk about the logistics of the actual.
Yeah, so how to make it readable, but I mean, that's where I think it's, as well as the story being told, the artifacts themselves speak a lot.
right.
We could definitely do videos. We have recording equipment here when it actually is working.
No, I
We
like the
could-
flashing.
We definitely, when it's not flashing, we definitely could do shorter form videos for each slide. So you can break it up, and it's very easy with the QR codes.
I mean, I'm even thinking just audio, so you're listening while you're going, because, I mean, there's data that shows that, 90% of the information you get from words is if you're speaking them and you don't hear them.
Yeah.
Our first audio tour, that will be cool.
Well, if you need additional words, because like she said earlier, we went in the confines of the 24 by 36 and tried to kind of summarize it, but if you want us to elaborate even more, we can add additional words, and we can get, because some of, like he said, we have probably 14 or 15 grandchildren that have stories where we can talk to them and get those recorded to add. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can do that.
We can do
too.
that.
So
Yeah.
just give us a deadline and
have a QR code, but maybe even make a bigger reference that there is the verbal or the oral history on our, as part of the park, right?
I mean, we've got a ton of homeschoolers here. This is now on the stop.
And speaking of school, and he did touch on education, we have a lot of people in our family that have doctorate degrees and that have graduated. I graduated from Appalachian State. We have some that graduated from Harvard. I mean, it goes across the gamut. So educate, yes.
Somebody planted a seed.
Right.
That's right.
That's right. You want to bring it back to today. I mean, obviously, education's the center here in Marvin too, and the idea that that first school was there and what it enabled, I think that's a beautiful piece.
That's right.
I don't know how much more time we have, Austin, but the feedback, I think, if we could continue, but for a few more minutes.
Just a quick, if you could take a moment to explain the background image on each slide, because you can't see it very well. So I thought they might be interested to know what
That's the
is
house.
in the background.
Okay, so if you,
Slide 1 in the background is the house.
slide 1, so Lauren, we talked about it, I believe, Christina, when you were there the last time, about highlighting the background more, to where that we bring it to more of the forefront, to where you understand what's back there, okay?
Less
So it's less transparent. So we talked about doing that, and I think Lauren, when she gets back, or was going to get with Christina and others to see about bringing that forefront more, okay? So each one of the pages has more to do with showing what's there. Like, or if you go to page 3, and the highlighted part is the land. And wanted to be, and bring it more to the forefront, to where that not only do you just see the small map here, but there is one to where that it states, and that is on page 4. It shows the land. But then to highlight it more, to where they understand what's there when they're talking about the sacred land.
And most of the pictures that's in the background, they are in the foreground too. So, I mean, even if we eliminated the background, if it's some kind of confusion where you're trying to see it, if you took it out, you still see, like, on slide.
Well, the one that's easiest to see because there's more blank space. It's them all sitting at the house.
Yeah, at the house.
Right, so,
Yeah.
right, yeah. And then like he said on slide 4, in the background of the sacred ancestral land, it's visible on slide 3. So if that, may cause some confusion, we could probably eliminate it, because all those pictures they're in the background, but they're
I
also
think
in
it's
the
also
foreground.
because it's double-sided.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you
This
get
time,
the
yes, yeah.
appearance from the back.
It's more pronounced when it's just on one page.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you make it too dark, then it fights with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the slide about this, and John, I don't know if you've talked about this, but, I know we've chosen to use like the GPS of the village of Marvin, that, the actual plat itself. I just kind of question that, because I think you're trying to give the sense of like where in the community is. It's Crane Road, it's Newtown. But when you start to go here, I don't know, I feel like you get distracted with trying to think about, well, whose house is on this property? Okay, good. So, but
I think that's actually instructive, because then it gives people, it ties people to, this isn't just some piece of land somewhere else. My house is.
It's on that land,
and
that's right.
My house is sitting
you
on
feel
the
like, okay.
Some of that land,
Okay.
yeah.
But this may change too, right? Because I assume some of this is still going to be developed at some point. I mean,
Well, it
so
has
then-
to
so
be a
this is
snapshot.
a snapshot in time. Okay, so you all, or maybe we at least have, I guess this is small. You can't see what the streets are, so then you spend time trying to guess which street.
Oh, most people can find their house.
Okay, but I mean, if you weren't from this community, you might want to say, well, there's Crane Road and Newtown Road, and
I would say
now you drive down
maybe
here.
labeling Newtown and Crane, because
Right.
they're mentioned in the text.
It just seems like it's pretty large, our space, but I guess this is pretty much the Crane Road to Newtown.
Well, and I have in the color version, you can see there's,
Yeah.
there are 2 colors actually.
So what is the green, because I saw the red was referenced in the footnote, but is green also referenced in the footnote?
It says it down in the,
Yes.
What's that?
down in
Left.
the little small print, which you cannot see. Lauren explains exactly what the properties are.
Really quick, I wanted to share 2 quick things. The signs are fantastic. I absolutely love them. So you said, who was it that designed them? Who was it that designed them?
The design.
Who designed the
Lauren.
sign?
Lauren.
Tell her she did a great job.
Yeah, Lauren, yeah.
Only two things I'll say is, we do have an adopted branding package, so we try to match our fonts and colors. So if I could just share that with y'all, could you try to match them up?
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah, so I was going to say, speaking about houses, are the houses that the Rosses had, like on Newtown and Crane, are they still there, or?
No, none of the houses are not there, that Grandma Mitty and, that the Ross sisters built for, Grandpa Tome and Grandma Mitty. That house is not there anymore. But the house that she was raised in is just right down the road here, right across the county line. Yeah, so if you go down and time you cross that bridge there, and the house to the right behind that house is where the house is that she was raised in.
I think it's yellow now.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll see it when you go down
Yeah.
Marvin Road past Firethorn.
Yeah.
You get down just past the bridge.
That's right.
On the Mecklenburg side.
It is, a curve,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, but that house is there. Yeah. So,
And we can incorporate that if needed. I mean,
yeah.
could take a picture of that
The
house.
key thing that I would mention at this juncture while we're like giving feedback on the actual presentation is, I was a lawyer in a past life. Let's just make sure we have copyright authorization for all of the photos. Which a lot of these are obviously old enough, and census records and so on and so forth, they're in the public domain, but particularly the pictures of the individual people. Just between everyone, just make sure we have permission to put those photos up, because I'd hate for, after this is all printed and up, for somebody to go, hey, I didn't say it was okay for that to be up there, or I don't like that picture.
Yes, all of those pictures came from our
Our
family
family, yeah,
members.
these are family members,
So we
yeah.
told them that we're putting them in the park. Now, are you
and
asking
if
us
they gave
to
them
make
to you-
sure we get it in writing? Or,
That would just be
Okay.
helpful, just to,
Okay.
if you,
yes,
like,
Okay.
when we get to a finalized version, especially those pictures of individual
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
to
Yes.
have either the descendant or whoever gave you the photo, just
Say it's okay.
initial on a final copy saying, I approve of the
Got it.
use of this.
Gotcha.
photo."
Okay.
okay, we
All
can
right.
do that.
So,
I give you credit,
If we're gonna have that
for how you
meeting,
sorted through
we're gonna have family
those
members.
photos.
Yes.
How you picked.
Okay.
them.
Okay.
But and I kind of going on what Michael was asking about if we can see it, but maybe on that map, is there a way to overlay or spotlight where the school was, or where some of those key things were, like in the past? I don't know if you could show it so there's context, otherwise it's, like you said, it's gone.
Oh, that's kind of
But like, this is where this was, or something like that.
Well, we know where the church is, but still, on a map, these are possibly documents that we could go through our QR code and have, like, this is level one.
Yeah, I think some of those things will be in the QR code.
Gotcha, okay.
Take this with you.
We definitely can make that happen. I do want to note, we're running it short on time. We do need to start talking about the sign format and the sign formats and where you, and the location.
Thank you. And then the last thought is, as we read this then through, Angel and folks, should we, if we see other kind of maybe questions, should we, I mean, because this is still being edited, I assume, as it goes forward, we can send them back through you, Angel, or through Reverend?
Yeah, if you want to send it to me, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll disperse it.
Okay, great, because I know,
Funnel feedback through me if you could.
what's that?
Funnel feedback through me if you could, and I can get it to Angel. That way it's
Okay.
condensed.
Gotcha, yeah, because I think the last just point was the wording on the slide 4 for the sacred ancestral land, just to think there's some, maybe, just to make sure that's the appropriate way of describing it. I know it is sacred to the family, but because we also have other ancestral lands that we're referencing, that we don't confuse that, with some of the indigenous lands too. So there's just that thought about that word itself, but we'll, so if this discussion's closed on this for now.
God, like I said, you guys have everything you need from us at the moment?
I believe we have all of your commentary and feedback about it. So,
Thank you both so
Yeah.
much.
yeah. Oh, no. It's fine. That's great. We again, we just wanted to make sure that we got over to the point of why the park. We thank the board members and staff and everything for even approving this piece of land out here as a place to honor Miss Sally and her sister and Maggie and Grandma Mitty and Bob Ross, just to honor those. Again, it was family. That's what it was about. At the end, like Cousin Heidi said, it may not have started off as family, But I am sure of God's word doesn't go out and come back void. Love covers a multitude of things, and that's what happened. You know, you spend time enough with someone, you can't do but two things: you either hate them or love them. That's all you can do with them. So,
Thank you
and
so
they chose
much.
to love.
Thank
And we
you.
thank you all. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, good to move on to the install.
Okay, yeah, so, the last couple of meetings, we've been talking about sign placement, sign options. We, I remember sharing the wayside, which is as they described, the 24 by 30 something on the sides where you look down on them. We talked at some point about the taller structures that would potentially go in the area where the shade structure is going to be. And then I know over the course of the last month, I've done some additional walkthroughs with other members here on the board. The lean right now is to stay with a more consolidated area of signage, but also not to be too much of a distraction from the park itself. And the thought would be that we stick with the consideration of the wayfinders, the wayside signs, but cluster them together in the first half of the sidewalk so that they would be on the right side of the path going forward and not going all the way up to Newtown Road, just to kind of not make folks have to walk the entire path. And also just to kind of, and also to hold the attention in that area. So the discussion was really around, do we feel comfortable clustering, horseshoeing, what would be 5 or 6 signs on the right-hand side of the path, somewhere between where the entrance to the preserve trail is, halfway up the path in that section.
Ask here. I'm going to make sure we fully understand. So after the meeting, I would like it if
We walk.
can take a quick
Perfect.
walk outside.
I think that
take
makes-
photos of the exact spots. Because once they go underground,
You're not being,
No.
okay. So that would be, that's really the recommendation that I've been hearing from feedback, is to keep the signs in a consolidated area, to perhaps horseshoe them if it makes sense, so they're not elongated, and like you said, we'll walk out there, and perhaps move away from that taller structure in the fact that it may be kind of a conflict with the pergola and other other items.
closer to the parking lot and less so the opposite.
Well, actually, what we're thinking is if you go up to the right-hand side, you've got the pollinator garden, then we're going to have the shaded structure, which isn't there, and then you've got the entrance to the preserve trail, just past the
Just
preserve trail
beyond that.
start.
Yeah, I think
And
we'd
we
do
look,
that.
there's like 3 or 4, what do you call it, street lights or, light posts between those first two light posts, put like 2 or 3 together, but not to go all the way up the hill, so that.
Not the Burma Shade approach.
Yes, exactly, so clustering them within the right distance.
If the size were was 24 by 36.
Mm-hmm.
So are you guys doing a smaller format?
Do you
Yeah.
have anything that's that size? What's that?
So we could
Is
take
that-
out there.
I'd say one of those boards are probably pretty
Yeah, it
close.
probably is.
Those are a little bit bigger, but
It's like to be 3 feet, right? So.
Actually, if you take,
Yeah, this
That's-
is about 24, because that's it might be a little bit taller.
it would be like this times 3. So that's essentially 24.
okay.
so this is actually 24 by 36.
Yeah.
What's the measure?
Theo's up there measuring.
Not in hands, I happen to know it comes in handy. Okay, so because it's thicker though, it looks bigger, but yeah, so that's great.
Okay.
Now, you take that outside though, and suddenly it looks like,
Yeah. Okay.
But that's okay.
So then
It'll be
we'll be
good.
able to read this then.
Yeah, but when you think about the size of the fonts and stuff, when it's blown up to that from that.
Honestly, the font would probably be smaller.
So we definitely have your feedback. After the meeting, we'll go walk it to make sure. If we get to the point where the signs are going in the ground and, oh my gosh, they're smashed up against each other and they're giant,
A little
we can
Yeah.
move them if we can. We'll make sure everything looks good before things go in the ground permanently.
So let me ask you, are you talking about signs that are like
Yes,
this?
yeah, the wayside ones where you look down.
But maybe turn back this way?
When-
But then you have to get around. Okay.
It's going to be like you're at the zoo. You're going to be like at the zoo. It's going to be aligned with the walkway. You're not going to want to
Right-hand
angle
side of the
it.
path.
You're not going to want to angle it.
One thing that I would recommend being in printing though, and it was a point that was just brought up, when you do blow things up to that size, all of a sudden, some of these font sizes may start to look really large and overwhelming on. So it might be, we just get a plain paper 24 by 36 printout of the final version so that you can just see it printed out and understand better how those aspects kind of fit together. It wouldn't be expensive, but just to have a proof like that to kind of guide you.
About anything else on here, if these are not all really high resolution.
They are. That's a very large file size.
Like I said, though, you just
we
want to have
can-
that proof.
I can have them output a high quality PDF in a larger size, because they shared the file with me just to look at, and it's in Canva, and you can scale it up, scale it down, and have high quality PDF printouts that will match exactly what's printed. So I'm not too worried about.
Some of those older ones, though, even they look very grainy, even small at a high res. And when you multiply that out 5-10 times.
We can work on it.
Okay.
We can do a test print.
And
I'll
you
think
can
on it.
use smoothing and stuff like
We'll
that.
we'll use our sign vendor for the actual panels, because we already have a quote for the displays, so we'll be purchasing inserts to go inside. So I can work with them on that.
Well, your sign vendor is probably happy to print off, I mean, yeah, it'll be on paper.
They have to have a
It's still
proof,
not as
too.
best. It'll be a little less, the resolution will be a little fuzzier on a piece of paper than it would be whatever they're gonna print on, but you could still see, I think it would be worth it to say.
What they'll print it on will be like a very high quality laminate, probably laid over a metal, because they make metal signs normally, and metal doesn't tend to fray or weather, so.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it, he's absolutely right, I live with this conversation all the time. Yeah, the resolution.
We'll make sure that it comes out with the best quality possible. Historical photos, you can only do so much, though. You are gonna lose some fidelity.
But some of them, I mean, I don't know if Lauren, since she put all this together, if she's good at retouching photos, but I know some people who are, so if we need to do that. So once you know this head is this big, then you might need to, smooth that out. That's all. Because it looks like they're pretty good, it looks like they're pretty clear, but it's hard to tell.
So if I could get a motion from you all to, Lucas, turn that sideways, sorry. To approve the 24 by 36 Houston Ross historical signs as amended.
I make a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, so that's the approval I needed for the signs, so, and then if you could do one more motion. To, just to recommend the following, to recommend the install locations and just,
Okay.
to recommend the install locations as discussed, something like that.
I'll make a motion to install as discussed, and will be confirmed at this meeting for the 5 or 6 signs for the Houston Ross Park. All in favor?
Aye.
You did say or 6, so what?
6, I'm sorry, there's
Yeah, I know, there's 5
5.
numbers, but what is this one?
That's a good point.
I think that's just a title page. For
Okay, so that's not going to be,
We'll figure it out,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to talk to them more anyway, so if there's a 6 sign, you do pairs of 2.
Well, this is great.
I thought that was helpful too, because you kind of
Yeah.
need something to say why.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's such a great plot. Pictures and.
I like this, yeah.
It's fine, we got a quote, the quote we got was for like 10 signs, so we thought about doing something at Marvin for Parks. If we only need 6, fantastic, that's cheap.
Okay.
So this is like,
6, so it's 6 signs, yeah. 2, yeah, between those different posts, yep, that'll be easier. Yeah. Okay, and then, so we've got the 2 motions, but then Austin, I just want to make sure I know the follow-on for the feedback. I think the next step was then they're going to take it to council, the same presentation, is that correct, John? That this, or what is
You guys
this?
have now made your recommendation, so it does go to the council next.
Dylan.
I don't know, if they
I
said they were
don't
gonna
know
present, I
that we
missed
want
that
to
one.
wait that long with.
We need to get the signs
Yeah.
purchased, so the council still needs to approve that
Right.
purchase.
What I meant, like the final text, like if there's feedback on the text, is that going to be reviewed by council? I didn't know what the process was. Is there?
I don't really know. I would imagine that council would probably would probably approve it, obviously allowing us to make corrections where we need to. Like I said, you guys send me feedback so I can get the feedback to them, condense it down,
Okay.
make that a high priority, because we're
By end of this week, if you have any edits or content questions.
if you give us
yes.
longer.
it needs to be by the end of this week, because this I want to have this in front of council on the 15th.
Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
Um,
Okay, That's just helpful so we
Yeah.
know where, so then that's our last say into anything else related to words, signage, and
Mhm.
such. Okay.
So sorry to, but if we're sending, I'm sending my comments to you, but should I include them?
Do not CC the board.
I understand.
Blind copy? or-
If,
I know, I understand from that perspective, but I don't, it's not just my fault, so they need to be our fault.
we can't go another meeting.
Okay. So you'll
we cannot
consolidate
go
what you get as feedback then and send it back out?
Unless one of y'all wants to volunteer to have one-on-one conversations with each other to reconcile any differences, I will let you decide. I'll let you decide that. If someone wants to volunteer for
Okay.
that.
Why don't for now, we send everything to Austin. If you get what appears to be a mountain of things that need to be sorted, I'll take that on and then follow up with everybody individually, so.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go work on that.
Yes, but I do appreciate, I think it is good to get the one more eyes and feedback because we just heard the story and I think it was,
So due date, Friday.
Friday. Yep. Thank you. Great. Okay, next up for unfinished business, we have the approval of the Marvin Houston, Village of Marvin's, the big sign outside of the Village Hall.
big sign.
The big sign.
This is purely a formality. You guys have seen it.
Yep.
So you're okay with it?
It's 5 minutes, we wanna talk for 5 minutes.
We're already over our.
Council approved the sign last night on their consent agenda contingent upon your approval. So if you guys, it's in your packet. You've seen it you saw it last meeting.
Here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's here.
Oh, it's just the, standard.
It's the tree logo, Marvin Village Hall and Houston Ross Park. If someone wants to make a motion, I will get that ordered this week, and Public Works will build the structure and install it as soon as they can.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the new sign for the Village Hall and Houston Ross Park as attached. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Thank you. So this is going to go forward, and this will get up as soon as it's ordered. This is not contingent on anything else
Nope,
with the park.
nope,
We're gonna-
council,
Front.
it's going, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, you're fine.
All right, thank you, Austin. Okay, our next agenda item is the update on the water feature and the Mike Cognac plaque, which is going to be associated with that area of the
So,
park.
not a big update here. The contract for the water feature has been executed. My understanding is they will install in July. That's the start date. I've talked with the vendor, and he's going to be selecting the stones for the water feature very soon. He is going to find one that has a flat surface that can accommodate the plaque. They can accommodate the plaque being attached to it. I'm hoping to have the plaque ordered this week as soon as Jill tells me I can.
That's the wording that John had proposed.
Same thing for the park sign. As soon as Jill tells me I can. You didn't tell me that.
So do we know that, I mean, because that's a lot of wording that John had, I assume that'll be in scale to it's wonderful wording, but.
It's the same vendor that made our plaque on front of Village Hall, so.
Okay, beautiful.
And it's, council's approved it, we're good to go. As soon as Jill gives me the formal thumbs up, I'll get it ordered, and I don't know how long it takes them for a bronze plaque, but as soon as they have it, and I can share photos with the vendor, select the stone. Once it goes in, then we'll move towards install. And we'll either install in-house, or we will get our sign vendor to do it, which we have some extra money approved, so I don't see any issues.
So only, I know you're trying to move us along, but only slightly connected to this, I need to get in touch with the water feature vendor guy. Brad?
About,
Thank you, because I have plants left over from all of that he might be able to use at Hufford.
email me after the meeting, I'll connect you to.
Yeah, I mean, I've got his stuff.
You
I just
do?
need to
Okay.
do it. Oh, yeah, I just need to, and he knows, he's just not gonna want all I have, but he can be.
So as far as expectation setting on the water feature, though, you said the July timeframe, correct?
When they get started,
When they
yes.
can start, so
Yes.
is it like a couple-month process? We don't know.
I don't know the full timeline, but part of it is installing a reservoir, a reservoir underneath, and so you're going to see the grass get torn up. It's going to go in. It's not going to look pretty for a bit,
And I'm sure it's weather dependent to some extent. I mean, when things are just sitting in a soggy bog, you're not gonna dig a hole.
Okay.
I think right now we're waiting on some DEQ approvals and permits and things like that, but it's scheduled to start in July, I believe.
Timing-wise, if we do the ribbon cutting in September, we expect it to be.
Yeah, we do.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, okay. And then the reason I was saying too is obviously at the point in time that it is done, then we will want to inform the Cognac family and do something of a recognition before we, you know, put the sign up.
If it's done in time, you could in theory do it during the ribbon cutting ceremony and kind of make it just one event. That way we're not doing two different
We'll do
events.
like they do at the Southern Living Show and just put plants in it, like, and it'll be beautiful.
Christina, have you thought about maybe the Wounded Warrior monument that's going in, that maybe they would want the plants if the pond guy doesn't need all of them? But they might want them. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's something.
I'm sorry.
So great update on the water feature coming in, and it's also even better that they're going to pick out the stone, because I wasn't sure how we were going to find a stone to match, but.
Yeah, I envision myself climbing over boulders
Yeah.
with like a level, trying to find one that's flat enough.
Good.
I mean, that makes sense for your job description, so go for it.
That's
Sounds
the-
pretty on
that's the
par.
Other duties as assigned.
Okay.
That is.
All right, well, that's great news. Then the last is, the next item for unfinished is just the overall feedback on the Houston Ross Park as a whole. And before we were kind of talking offline, but just as the park wraps up, it's still in the hands of the current design and team that's building it, the landscaping and such. You know, I know as we've started to walk it more, I've heard kind of feedback about, oh, what about the access to the restrooms? Is this hill too, do we have to consider the slopage of the hill for children? So as we kind of wrap up the park, and I'm not familiar with how we've done this in the past, we've only had Eford Park, John, is there kind of a walkthrough sign off, I assume from the staff, but anything else as far as, is this park complete? Are there kind of a list of things that we think maybe future state to make it,
So-
enhanced or safer? How do we go about
There's a
that?
walkthrough happening Thursday morning with the engineers and the vendor who built the park. They have a punch list of things that the vendor needed to complete or fix or comply with to comply with the original designs, grading, all that type of stuff. As to new concerns or questions, I don't think it's a bad idea if anybody wants to attend that and ask those questions or bring them up. It might be that it, what?
No more than 2 of them.
Can you share the punch list?
I don't have it.
In the state
The
that
punch
it's
list,
in?
it's more like, it would bore you to tears. It was more like, oh, the grading was supposed to be this inches, and it's this inches, and it's like an ADA thing. So it's just like, yeah, it was just like, it's almost like when you do your walkthrough of your new construction and you find a little ding here and a little ding here, and you say, I want it perfect, fix it. It was just that type of stuff. It wasn't anything new. But they obviously are doing their due diligence to make sure that the vendor did actually come back and kind of make everything the way it was supposed to be. So if there's... No. It was just like... Well, it's as designed. So if there are concerns, what I'm saying is if somebody has questions or concerns about it now that it's designed, then I would basically recommend either giving them to us or sending them to Christina. She can pass them on to the new manager. But it might be that we decide collectively, you all decide to recommend, now that it's built and it's here, there's some additional concerns or maybe a phase 2 that we would like to throw some money at to address a couple of things that we've noticed that we think could be improved.
Well, we already talked about the rough area, we'll just call it that. That Matt and I have been talking about how we're gonna handle that, and that's kind of a fall project.
Is that the cleaning out of that final bed at top there?
Yeah,
Okay.
the two kind of bits.
You talking about the overgrown area?
Yeah, by the road.
Recommend having that done before your ribbon cutting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's reasons for that.
I don't think it can be fixed, but it can be.
But is that like all the brushy, is that what we're talking, okay.
It's actually. Oh, there's so much poison ivy up there.
That's why.
Yeah, I know. So, but leaving it like that will keep people out of it. So, yeah, but your point is well taken. But that's one of the things that would be top of my list. And it's as designed. So, like it is right now, it's as designed. So the guys that do their punch list, that is not on their list.
Right.
They did, but that is a follow-on
Right.
that you're recommending.
But if collectively you guys are walking around and you're like, we think this would be a great improvement, or this is maybe a safety thing that we would like to address in a different way, then we can go back to the drawing table and continue to make some improvements or changes pending council approval and funding. We do have a Greenways Greenways and Trails Capital Reserve Fund, that some funds that were encumbered for projects that are no longer happening will be freed up, and technically by law, that money has to be spent on parks, greenways, and trails. So it could be reallocated potentially if there are some additional improvements that need to be made or that the council decides to do.
I'm happy to do a walkthrough on Thursday morning, just tell me when it is. If that would-
Let me just run that by Christina, but, because it may be that it's not, I mean, unless you literally have questions like, is this really how this was designed to be, this steep? Because
But mine are more like how many plants are there replaced. And I will have those numbers
yeah,
by then. You know, because some of them are, I mean, it's more complicated than it needs to be. But I can count up what's supposed to be in both places. I have the list.
okay.
And so I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to her today and see if she thinks that's a good idea too, and then we'll send you the day, time, and information, so. I hear that.
And minimally, I will share the numbers that are supposed to be out there, but I am counting.
Gotcha. Good to know.
Any other feedback about the park?
The question is going to also on the timing of the covered area. I understand our public works team is going to be building a pergola or such. Do we have any feedback? Is it being built?
It's been purchased.
Oh, it's purchased, okay.
Yep, it was purchased last month, so they should already have it unless they're still waiting for it to arrive, but, I.
It's also a weather problem.
Mhm.
Is it, because I was wondering, I know at the village, at Eford Park, you've got pergolas with like a swing underneath there. Does it have that feature, or is it just a pure pergola? Or do we have the option to add that type of a?
I actually have a picture of it sitting right here, if you want to see it, exactly what they bought. I mean, it doesn't help, I can put it in the minutes for Austin, but that's what it looks like. If you want to pass that around.
Oh, it's chunky. I like that. Because it needs to be that, because it's up against, 50-foot trees.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it's 16 feet by 12 feet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that is very nice. That's big. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Our outdoor living room. Thank you.
Great, so that's going to be there. And then the last question, Jill,
After the bar. I'm just kidding.
additional seating and bench placement, because I don't know, where does that fall? Is that, I mean, that's not part of the landscaping group, but we do need benches and seats across the park. Where does that come into play?
It's the area under the pergola. That's
Just
what
the only,
was,
we're not going to have any benches up on the
So,
hill.
but there's your point of a list for later. Yeah. And
It's my understanding that there's no other benches planned except for under that pergola area, except for, again, possibly with the memorial that's happening on the other side by the flagpole. There'll be some benches over there, but the main goal of the park also was to have that beautiful event lawn for people to sit on the grass and have picnics and just enjoy earth. Grounding, take your shoes off and ground. It's great for the body.
yes, because this is a smaller place than part of the park, and it's brand new, that we set, if we're going to build maybe one day other benches or swings or whatever, that we have a style sheet for that, and it looks like that pergola that we just went by, or that looks like, I'm not a designer, but this is what benches all look like, and this is what swings all look like, so if we end up with 37 of them, they all look like they belong.
So what kind of benches are going under the pergola? Are they the metal or are they the wood, or do we?
I honestly don't know what benches are going under there. Was that?
It's gotta be covered seating, right? So-
Yeah, covered.
that's a question for Christina, because she's
no
going
worries.
into that.
But just that we set a standard and we just kind of match it.
And this is not something that has to be solved today. We have a lot more time to talk about.
Okay, first we'll look for the pergola, then we'll.
I'll find out if the benches have been selected and if that's Public Works, or I just assumed it was.
I
Y'all
think
were
we looked at
selecting
it
them.
At one point, and we're talking about like that polywood type of.
Like low maintenance.
Yeah, I thought we did have a discussion on that. quite some
Whatever
time
it is,
ago.
I just know it'll come up later, somebody wants to do a project, and we just need to have.
I'm pretty certain I haven't paid for it yet, and I haven't been asked or given a quote, so I don't know. But I'll find out, because we probably should get working on that pretty quickly too, if we haven't already.
I may be confusing it back when we had the conversation about Mike
Yeah, 'cause we're
Cognac's
thinking
thing
putting
on a bench.
his name on the contract.
But again, I think the discussion even then was consistency in what we're, investing in.
I'll find out.
Hollywood, like you said, or something of that nature, that's low maintenance and comfortable. That's it. Okay. All right, so Is that something we need to come back with, Jill, then, or just some, well, maybe, well, we're gonna take a walk out here next, and maybe at that time, we can kind of eyeball how many benches or such in that covered area at least, so.
When Christina's here on Thursday for the walkthrough, just, that's a great time for that question, see if Christina has an answer, or if Jill doesn't already ask before then.
Okay. Any other questions, feedback? Thank you for the time to, and, oh, Deb.
Is there a time frame to use those funds for Parks and Rec? No? Okay.
For, you talking about the Greenways and Trails Capital Reserve Fund that I mentioned? Yeah, no, it's infinity and beyond.
So if we needed to do anything, if we did the Publix Pocket Park with the exercise equipment, if we needed to do anything additional, could it go toward there?
Mhm.
I know.
Austin's going to start twitching. Stop it.
Start hissing.
Okay. All right. Next item up is the reports and updates, event planning. So, Jill.
You skipped new business.
Oh, new business. Oh, gee.
This is just a question for you all.
Yes.
So council, has moved to the first Monday of the month. You guys are the day after. Not only is that, not only does the staff is staff here late at night and here first thing in the morning, it's not scheduled. It's not easy to schedule for you all. If council needs you guys to look at something, I don't have time to get it to you all. So if council sticks to being on the first and third Mondays, do you guys want me to shift you to the second Tuesday for next year?
It's possible that they might move to the third Monday? Is that what you're saying?
They do first and third Mondays.
They do both?
Their regular meeting's the first Monday, their work session, which is their morning meeting, is the third Monday. So I would just think about moving y'all to the second Tuesday to space it out, and it gives us more time to prepare agenda packets.
I don't have a problem with that.
Then we have time to, because even like things that were brought to public attention today, we wouldn't have known because they happened 10 hours ago.
And there will still be situations where council's the immediate day before, depending on how the calendar falls, or if there's a holiday and
Well, yeah,
skip on. But the standard schedule, I'd like to move y'all to a separate week.
Okay.
I like the second.
Second, so we're going to continue for this year as the first, is that?
I don't care, I can move it now.
I'm trying to think how many meeting reminder emails I already have scheduled throughout the year.
Yeah, we've only got a couple of more meetings this year, fiscal year.
I don't think it's, at this point, I don't think it's necessary to amend your schedule.
We have 6 more, we're halfway home.
I don't see the need right now to amend your schedule. I mean, 2 of those meetings coming up will be on the, 2 of those meetings coming up, you guys will actually be, hold on.
Well, the July one's probably off.
No, both you and council are pushed to the second week. September, you guys are ahead of them because they got bumped because of Labor Day to the second week.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so that's 2, so only 4 months that are really weird.
And half the time we cancel December, so.
Okay, so let's continue, I guess the proposed, the motion.
There's no
No motion, okay. but
I'm
we're
just asking for feedback, so
Okay.
I'm gonna start preparing stuff for next year already soon. So your schedule for next year will be second Tuesdays, if everyone's good with that.
At the same time.
So did you say the next month's meeting's on the second week?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And you guys will get reminder emails from me when I publish packets to remind you of the dates.
14th, wow, that's great. I
So
mean,
that's all I needed on that item.
No, I mean, yeah.
No, I know.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna go backwards for a second, but I actually just got a phone call from Matt, so I was able to get an answer about the pergola. They're waiting to start construction on it until after the project is completely done, and because they don't want to start digging or messing with what the other vendor has done until they've released 100%. It's not ours yet. And I also confirmed that they were not asked to source any benches yet. He hasn't heard anything about the benches yet. So I'm just messaging Christina to find out what the next step is for that. And I don't know if before we go down that road, if we want to reach out to the memorial group and find out what benches they're already going with and see if we can coordinate to have the same benches. And maybe if they were planning to do something and we want to choose to do benches that kind of look wood and rustic like the pergola, we just kind of give them those specs and say, hey, for consistency, can you stick with the same? But let's coordinate with them. So I'll find out from them what they're planning and we'll do it together.
Did Matt say pergola goes
No, it's just after this punch list and this particular vendor gets like, yes, you've done everything. I mean, that's a good point. Like if anyone has a concern that the pergola would have to come down or it would be in the way of any equipment, then we should probably wait, but I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I think it's not inappropriate to wait.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not happening yesterday, or today.
So is that a concern that the pergola might be in the way of like equipment?
That's a pond person's
Okay,
question.
okay.
Ask them if that-
Okay, so,
They may not know that the pergola's going on. Yeah.
so I'll make sure I communicate that with Matt, like, don't schedule this to be built until we coordinate with the pond folks that it won't be in the way of any equipment they need to bring on site to do the pond. Because who would want that? Who would want to have to take it down and put it back up again? It's a nightmare. Okay.
Okay. Event planning, Jill, perfect. This is gonna be
Okay.
about ribbon cutting, yes.
So I'm going to start with the ribbon cutting. I would say, I mean, at this point, it's like 90% planned, which is great. So.
Does it have it? Oh, it's 26.
Mhm. Okay, so fun fact. I just found out that I have a family member that is having a baby. And so I actually might be out of state for the actual ribbon cutting. I'm not panicking yet because I might be here. But I'm just putting it out there. I might not be here. But that's okay because I would leave everything in good hands, don't worry. But I know Christine, I know I gave you this update, but I'm going to share it with the rest of you. I also did share this with Mayor Pro Tem Martin, and she shared it with the descendants as well, and they only had one question and one feedback, so I think everything so far is good. But what we have planned for that day, I've already booked the DJ. I've already got a sort of an outline of a draft of a program of how it should go. I have already booked a charcuterie lady who's going to bring like a big H and a big R and fill it with charcuterie and fruits and nuts and all kinds of fun stuff. And she'll make it look really pretty. We've used her at events in the past. It's always like pretty elegant. We have a mobile coffee truck that's going to be here with some fall hot and cold beverages. We've got Italian ice lady who's going to be here. The village is going to cover the cost of all of that. And we also have big giant scissors are already in my office with a big ribbon. I've got a helium tank. I've got tons of green and gold balloons because I was trying to stick with our branding, our color palette. You're welcome, Austin. He's not listening. We also have a trolley. So there's a business down in Waxhaw that has a beautiful white enclosed trolley with some open air windows in a few spots. I've booked her. So the plan is to have people park at Marvin Eford Park because I really don't want to pay for Marvin Elementary School when I've got 200 parking spaces over at Marvin Eford Park. It doesn't make sense. So we'll have people park there, and the trolley is going to shuttle them back and forth from the park to here. And that's for anybody. I do believe that AME Zion Church is going to have some type of shuttle bus. The descendants are meeting there, and their own shuttle bus is bringing them to the event. But I was not told if that was available to anyone who wants to attend, so we just booked our own trolley and have overflow parking at Marvin Eford Park. Probably, depending on how many hours we needed it, probably 500 to 1,000, depending on how long we need it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame because it's right here, just visibly. I think you might attract more folks. I mean, I know it's not that far to drive, but you're like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can get a quote. I can go on Facilitron and look and see how much it would cost to get. But I was trying to do free since I'm already renting a trolley, you know.
But it's not gonna have a lot of volume, right?
Yeah, and then other than that, I'll supplement the charcuterie with just some snacks and refreshments from Publix, and I think that's pretty much it. It should be a pretty easy event, just other than some decorations. I think it starts at 1. So most of the vendors have been told to be here by noon, set up by 12:30, starts at 1, ends at 3, but obviously it ends when it ends. You know, people are going to linger, walk around, probably enjoy the space. So, both, the whole thing will be open. Well, the Village Hall front and back doors will be open, so, yeah. But is there anything that you guys can think of that you would like to see incorporated in this event that I haven't thought of besides food, music, beverages, decor, and
Are we going to have, I know we don't have seating, but are we going to have, I mean, there's, I know
Thank you.
the family has got
So,
folks who may need.
we should have the benches. We have all of the rocking chairs on both porches if people want to sit down as they're walking around or as they're enjoying a snack. We also have all of these chairs here that if we needed to, we could bring outside and make sure we have some additional seating, especially for elderly that are in attendance or.
Did we use these for the Warriors event, or
No,
did
they brought their own.
Oh, wait, like they're folding. Yeah, I just knew that there was a number of elderly folks in their family, and I'm assuming when we do the ribbon cutting, and if the Reverend or also we have other speakers, there may be a bit of standing.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some seating. Where and how much will depend on where the actual ribbon cutting is going to happen, where the ribbon. I did get one of the feedback from the descendants was, could the grandchildren participate in the ribbon cutting? And I didn't know if they were referring to like the kids. But now, after this, I think they might be meaning the 13 legitimate grandchildren and not, I thought they meant littles. So I wrote her back and said, well, how many little kids are we talking about? And do they all need big scissors or do they want little scissors? Like, can you help me understand the request? And I hadn't heard back from her yet, but now that I'm hearing, I think it might be the 13 grandchildren. Now, it's a little bit complicated to have 13 people cutting with scissors, so what I think I might do instead is just suggest that the grandchildren all are up there, maybe holding the ribbon, because someone needs to hold it on both ends, and maybe the oldest grandchild, maybe just they all can gather up, and the oldest grandchild can be the one who holds the scissors and cut. But they can do it, they can pick, but they can do it themselves, and the mayor doesn't need to be the one to cut the ribbon. It can be the grandchildren, so.
And I think they mentioned 10 of them are surviving. Or something.
No, he said he said 14 of them.
Okay.
There's 14, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it would be amazing to get them all up there, get a picture with all of them, all of the grandchildren that are, I mean, we can, basically, I have a program set up, but the only thing I haven't done, and I can, if you want me to, is get a professional photographer to come and take really beautiful photos that the family and the church could have as a keepsake. So I've got.
Oh, thank you, that was it.
This entire time.
And just to get, what do you call that, not action shots?
Candid, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I think the church would love to have the like really great photos that they could keep as well or put on their website from the event. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm fine to reach out to a photographer and hire one to come for the day. So
Thank you. Jill, you've done tremendous. I mean,
thank you. I think Michael has a question.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what day is it on again?
September 26th,
26th?
from 1 to 3.
All right, thanks. And, are you gonna need any, like, help with it, like, any
Yes,
volunteering opportunities?
I would love if all of you were there
Awesome.
to help.
I will be there.
Yeah, that'd be
So
great.
I would like to add, and if I say this, and I'd like to do it, a map of the park, that we have some kind of graphic for that, and I know I can.
For like where everything's going to go and be.
This is the butterfly garden, this is the rain garden, this is the wounded warriors garden, this is where all of these things live, and that's the tree with the poison ivy, don't touch it, you know, that kind of thing, this is the
to get
trail.
more from an education too, right?
Just where everything.
Just like a site map.
Yeah, site map.
Maybe a site
For-
map.
for the
with
day of the
with-
event,
with an
or-
agenda on one
Well,
side,
we
site
will
map
anyway,
on the
but
other.
That we would have it available then, and because it's late, well, no, it's late in September, but early start to fall, I could have CPAC So that would be planted in the fall, later, little fall.
Well, oh, that reminds me, I forgot. I think I already, ordered some.
Seeds?
Yeah,
Well, we can talk about that.
I might have. Either that or I have a quote for it, but I went online and found pollinator seed packets, and I think I was going to order a couple hundred as giveaways with a cute little logo on them that says Houston Ross Park.
That would be great.
So,
Let me
but-
just look at what's in there because I don't trust people.
No invasive ones.
That's right.
Yeah, there'll be some invasive.
You gotta go in there.
Yeah.
and pick them all out.
I gotta take this thing out. I'm not doing that. Yeah, just let me.
I like that.
I
idea.
will.
That's nice.
Exactly.
But I think it makes sense, Christina, too, we should go ahead and use that time to educate folks about what's in the
Yeah,
park,
all the
because that's the biggest crowd we're
Well,
gonna
and
get.
and then just look around and see.
Okay. All righty, thank you, yeah, again, Jill, tremendous help, and expectation is all of PRG and others who are available to help will be there and support this, so, but you've done tremendous legwork, so thank you.
Thank you. And I'm hoping that by then we have hired our project manager, so it won't be a big deal if I'm not in town that weekend, because in theory, I should have already handed off the reins to someone else by September.
All right.
Okay, next was National Night Out, and I do have a meeting today about National Night Out, pretty soon, actually, just to touch base with the law enforcement side of it to make sure that we're good to go, but
It's the 4th.
it's the first Tuesday, it's either the 4th or 6th, I can't, okay. So there was discussion, somebody was going to, because we don't have the Mayor Polino to do this anymore, somebody was going to reach out to Firethorn about the grill again. I think that was discussed at our last, I think that might have been you, Deb. Were you supposed to do that? Remember how
We used to use their grill, but
Firethorn lets us borrow their grill?
it may not be alive anymore.
Alive.
Well, I mean, if you saw it the last time, hopefully they would place it.
Oh, it was like in bad shape.
Yeah, that's why we were using that other one.
So I guess the question is, I don't know what we want to do with food for this event moving forward. If we want to keep doing, hot dogs, chips, and cookies and stuff like that, we can. I don't know if at this point we should just buy our own grill so that we're not having to borrow from someone else every year. I hate to buy something just for a one-time event that we do once a year, but we could. But we certainly probably have space to store it, so we could purchase one ourselves.
And we don't need, we don't need the gigantic, we rarely ever use both sides anyway because they're rarely both working.
So what size would work that I could store easily at the bar?
If you're talking about something events-wise, I know we changed to just hot dogs at one point, which, certainly don't need, but when we were doing burgers or things
Oh,
like,
then we need it.
we were using that entire grill. So, I'll reach out to Firethorn, I'm still a member there, so.
Okay, so see if we can get their grill now.
So I'll just see if they have one that
For now.
puts us from, and we can consider something.
I guess after
I
that,
think having a grill of our own might be a good use of the PRNG capital budget. I mean, price-wise and use-wise, we might use it more than just the once a year if we had it.
Storing it, though,
Cleaning
I
it.
can talk to the park about both of those two things.
Do we ever, do we ever get that request when people rent the barn for a grill? Has that ever come up when folks are using it as a?
We've never offered it as something that they could rent. We could potentially, but then it becomes, they'd have to clean it, we'd have to make sure we have propane, or they'd have to bring their own and that type of stuff.
Well, but those are all things you can charge for. You can charge to clean it. There's a price that I would clean a grill for. I'm allowed to share it.
So, okay, in the absence of Firethorn, let's say Firethorn says, no, we don't have a grill, and let's say council doesn't want me to buy one for storage reasons or cleaning or maintenance, whatever. Then we need a backup option for food, and I could always look to see if there's like a mobile hot dog cart that wants to come and just do hot dogs for us. It would be more expensive, or we can just switch to pizza or something else, or it can become an event where we're not really serving a dinner per se, but we have got lots of snacks and refreshments and goodies for people. It doesn't have to be what it's been in the past. It can morph, and we can switch gears, you know?
My first thought is that I like it like it is,
Mhm.
but I'm just kind of in the mood for liking things like they were. So,
I hear you.
and it's June, so why change it this year if we don't have to?
Okay.
If there's no grill, then, but that's just my opinion.
So if we could,
Grill,
I don't
I
even
would
like
be in
hot
favor
dogs.
of trying to find the pizza vendor as opposed to just doing snacks. I mean,
Yes, I kind of like.
I think the dinner thing, I get what you're saying is we could just scale it back a little bit, but I don't know, for some reason,
Time of night's nice, yeah.
And she doesn't even like hot dogs.
no.
I don't either, but I like.
You like cooking them, you like cooking.
I know that early on, you know, the original intent in National Night Out, it was things that were done more in the communities and subdivisions. And I know Union County eventually started to kind of prefer almost, you know, the sheriff's department, who are integral in this, started to feel more towards these larger events. I think Wesley Chapel does something similar, and Weddington. And I believe part of the thing was in the early years that we did this, we were getting major food contributions from Harris Teeter, from Lowe's and things like that. And they were even providing, you know, workers, you know, potentially even. So a lot of that food came at no charge because it was being donated.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why we had all that. But I'm just saying that to provide some historical background on how it became what it was and kind of morphed into what it is now. But we don't see the same contributions. I think Harris Teeter switched to providing a gift certificate or something like that a few years back, rather than 10 boxes of burgers or something like that. You
Well,
know?
and I wouldn't want to stick to like, let's provide dinner to an extent that it becomes super costly. I mean,
Yeah.
scaling away from the burgers and just doing hot dogs. Hot dogs are relatively cheap. We can get, you know, lots of them. So if the grill's available, I'd probably just continue on with the hot dog thing. If the grill's not available, then my instinct would be to see if we could get some kind of arrangement with pizza where they're sponsoring it,
Yeah.
put them on a banner or something, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, where some of that additional cost is defrayed
Yeah.
with a donation. But if
Yeah.
it turns out to be like, oh, we're just now buying pizza for the entire community
Yeah.
for free, then maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then we
would,
just
I
go
would
to the
definitely
snack
seek a
thing.
partnership with Marco's Pizza. They've always been super generous,
Yeah.
especially when law enforcement is involved. Anytime we've done like the speed trap days where we have a lot of officers, I've ordered pizza, they always give it to us on the house. They're so generous when it comes to law
So if we
enforcement.
have like sort of option number one, hot dogs and grills
And then we'll do that,
standard.
right.
Yeah,
If we can strike a really good deal for the pizza, that's option number two. If not, you know, and it starts to look expensive out of proportion to the event, then.
John, do you think you could get an answer from Firethorn by the end of this week?
Yeah, I'll read you.
Quick
Okay.
note, we have used about all of our reports and updates time just on event planning, so we do need to keep things
Okay.
moving.
I just do, I now can't ask my question, but I do want to just one on the events. I know the food part is important, but one, just put it out here. We had that HOA meeting that Bob helped facilitate a couple weeks ago, right? And there was a lot of great questions that were directed at the sheriff who came around just safety, e-bikes. I'm wondering, I know National Night Out is mostly about the kids climbing on the equipment, but I think
But the adults can learn
But I
too.
just wonder if there might be a focus we could ask, can we put some e-bikes out there for some discussion? Something like that that's also more educational and interactive, because I thought there was lots of interest to ask questions. And I think maybe if we can also put a little bit of an adult focus for engagement with the law enforcement, just a thought.
I can bring that up today in our meeting. I know that it's a huge issue for law enforcement right now, and I think it's driving the deputies just as crazy as it's driving all of us. So obviously, the Union County Sheriff's Office has already made a great flyer. They've been putting it out on social media. So at the very least, they do have a table with information at the events. We could ask them to bring that, or at least have some safety information and discussions with one of the booths that they set up. I'll bring it up today.
I just feel like it's like, let's also make it a chance to communicate, not just have fun for the kids. I mean, which is important, but anyway.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Hunter real quick. He's going to give a quick update on Arbor Day, even though we're running over and Austin's glaring at me.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jill.
All right, good morning. So just want to update you guys. So we have set our date for our annual Arbor Day celebration. It'll be held on Saturday, October 24th. This is part of our Tree City USA kind of requirements. We held our inaugural one last year. Great. Kind of going to build off of that this year. I'm going to be really looking for this board to help plan. So probably at the next meeting, I may have an agenda item on it and do some kind of talk through some programming with educational opportunities, plantings, and so on. So just want to. Yes, and we did, through the Arbor Day Foundation, get 50 trees donated to the village. They're all over at the park right now. It's another thing we're working on is what are we going to do with all those trees? They're baby. Yeah, I was about to say they're baby trees, but there are some that are growing, and so that's one thing that part of that celebration. Maybe we look at planting some of those as part of the plantings throughout the park or even here, and on top of. We are allowed to also give them away. And so I think I mentioned this at the HOA's president's meeting of opportunities maybe to partner with some of the HOAs that have some common open space that's more lawn and turf, and maybe they want to put some trees up in it so it can reduce their maintenance and overall achieve us enhancing the canopy over time. But just wanted to put that on your radar. I don't have a time yet. Most likely will be anywhere between 10 and 2. And so when we get that nailed down, I'll make sure that the board knows. But other than that, that's all I got for the Arbor Day.
It'll be on the agenda next time, yeah?
Yes, that's my goal.
We talked about a lot of things.
And then, yeah, and that's our next kind of
Yeah,
fall event. We can
exactly.
add on to the plants and pieces.
So
Okay.
we got August, September, and October covered. Cool stuff.
Cool. Who needs trick-or-treating anymore, right? We got it.
It's just candy.
That's right. Okay, next up then, is there anything else on your end? Hunter?
I'll take the Trails and Greenways update.
Perfect.
Okay. There's really only two. The Marvin Loop, we're still, we're in the process of getting our 70% engineered plans and permitting done. So that's still moving forward. That, if everything goes according to schedule, the extension of the loop from Preserve here up and around Village Hall to tie into, the park, should hopefully begin construction sometime early next year. Now, that's tentative. I'll come with more information as we jump through hoops and red tape with the whole DOT and federal funding process. But the other project, and I know Lucas, I think, presented this to you guys a few months back, is on the Heritage Trail extension. Just want to mention, so what staff is currently looking to get quotes from vendors. I know I've spoken with residents in the Heritage that want the trail, and I've spoken with residents that don't want the trail. Ultimately, what we're working to do is basically get these quotes, and we'll bring that to council, and we'll let council make that decision if they want to move forward with funding the actual construction of the project. We have worked with the current developer to identify areas where we can relocate the easements to kind of reduce any type of vegetation or tree removal, as well as trying to be considerate of those new homeowners there in the Heritage on top of Meadowlark as well, and trying to identify the best routing of that. We walked it, John and Christina and Lucas and I, and there are opportunities also for like additional plantings and stuff there. So at this time, like I said, we're moving forward, just getting everything to where it can be constructed. But at the end of the day, that construction authorization will be something that council will vote on as if they want to move forward with the contract for the funding of it.
Is the funding already there, though? I'm confused. Are we approving the vendor or the funding? Because I thought the funding was allocated from the developer way back.
There was actually a fee in lieu that was already paid. Whether or not that fee in lieu at this point would cover the actual full costs of what the trail is still in question. And likely, prices of everything continue to go up, so there likely would need to be some additional funds involved in that, especially if we're including some additional screening or things like that. Yeah.
So it's just more like augmenting what might be the difference, not.
So, well, in short, somewhat of its budget, but yes, once we get those cost estimates back and the actual quotes, council still has to approve that, award that contract to a vendor to do the construction. Even though if the funds are there, if the council decides not to do the project, maybe due to like I said, there are some differencing of opinions in some of the residents in the Heritage, and so if they decide to not move forward with it, I mean they just don't award the contract. So I mean that's where we're gonna And also that could be also on what the cost of that is. I mean, if the cost is something that's way above than what we received for a fee in lieu and estimated, then that's also another potential hurdle to that would delay or just not move forward with it at this time.
But so I understand, so if this funding was given with the purpose of a greenway, is it always going to be earmarked for a greenway? I mean, it's not ours to repurpose, correct, the village to spend on anything else but a greenway?
You didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. It's pretty clear that especially when it's given by a developer for a particular neighborhood, you should use it to benefit that neighborhood specifically in the capacity for which it was given to you. So that's what should happen with the funds, or in theory, they should be returned.
Because that's why I'm concerned that we have an option to give it, to deny the use that was defined. And I assume, and I don't know when this was built, Hunter, you'd have the history, was that part of the negotiations that they were going to provide more green space, which is a greenway, where we're now turning around potentially and saying, we don't
Yes,
want?
it was part of the plans when they came to.
Yes.
When they came to
Yes.
PRNG.
Yeah, okay.
We had input on.
Okay, so I feel like we're not really honoring
The plat map has an easement on
because
it.
residents may not want that, but that was a discussion and approval that was made by.
And
And,
it's on the plat map when the.
and that's
And it
correct.
was sold to residents when they were buying their home. So anyone who purchased a home in there probably got the same sales pitch and was told that trail was going to be part of the neighborhood.
We have here too, that,
That's
So-
correct. And like I said, we had a few residents come last night to the council meeting, and I know those are ones that live directly adjacent to where this last portion would be constructed. And like I said, I just want to be clear that there is, I don't know the breakdown of residents first, but there is obviously certain residents and the ones that are directly there that are in opposition of it. I have spoken with one of the gentlemen that, told them how we're working on relocating stuff and be happy to go out there and meet with them, because I think that's somewhat of their biggest concern, is because there is on the platted easement, there is a portion that really comes up to the back of those properties when we have a lot more room to shift it, to still keep it off of, not on Meadowlark, but put it more in the middle of that easement. That kind of creates a nice visual separation for both, like I said, Meadowlark Lane as well as the residents there in the Heritage. So, like I said, we're working towards all of that, but ultimately when we get those final quotes and stuff, it'll be on a future council agenda, potentially maybe August, September. And it may be something that also comes back to you guys as well. It's working through that.
would be, go ahead, Dennis.
Is most of that to go along Meadowlark and then loop back into Heritage?
That's correct.
So it looked to me like there was a pretty good amount of trees in between where the walkway would be and where the backs of properties
Mhm.
are, except for maybe.
When you're standing there though, you are looking right into all of those houses that are along Meadowlark, well, they're not on Meadowlark, but you're gonna back up to it. You're walking right in there.
Yeah, there's, it's dense right now because it's summer.
It's not right on the side of the road.
No. It's, yeah, it's a 100-foot buffer from the back of the property lines in the Heritage to Meadowlark Lane. There is significant vegetation in there, and like I said, ultimately, I think we can, in pretty good confidence, say that we could construct a 5-foot wide natural surface trail without removing any like canopy or major vegetation outside of some like understory or like brush type. But ultimately, the other thing is that there are some gaps because all that was in an undisturbed buffer. There are gaps in those areas that we could potentially look at getting some additional plantings planted in coordination with maybe.
Yeah, but I
Well-
do want to point out that trees don't give you privacy.
Yeah.
Except for their first 5 years.
Yeah.
And then they give you tree trunks. Right?
And-
We've got a lot of tree trunks out there.
And so, yeah, and that's, and so it should be something that my goal would actually be try to partner with Meadowlark and the residents of the Heritage and maybe the developer, try to do something where it's like, hey, neighbors, let's meet and talk and hang out and plant stuff. But ultimately, like, it's, that's just what, I mean, it's hard with these greenway trails. I mean, it's as it was said, there was a bunch of, those people know that was coming or the opportunity that it was going to be constructed at some point. And so now that they oppose it, like, once again, they're moving in and just trying to work with them, once again, to mitigate any of their concerns that they have if council decides to move forward with the construction of it.
Which I hope we do, because I would personally not want to return the funds this many years later. And I feel like, I would prefer that we not overreact each time a small number of homeowners are not fond of a trail, because we are a community that has taken great strides to be about nature and wanting to preserve green space and trees and trails and enjoy the beauty of our surroundings.
Access into those so that
And
they are enjoyed, not just viewed
correct.
from
So
streets and backyards.
I know trails has been a hot ticket issue in this town for quite a while, but I hope that it doesn't need to continue every time. Trail is not a dirty word, especially when you have enriched by nature in your tagline. So I just want to put that out there. I would hope that we can make this trail happen, and everybody, we may not make 100% of residents happy, but if we can make the majority happy and we can be true to our roots and our tagline, then I think we need to try to do that.
And I think especially since this one was part of an approval process, as Jen stated.
And sold to the residents.
This was part of how
Yeah, I mean,
it
we
was designed.
gave recommendations on which part should be asphalt, which parts should be natural trail, where they should be positioned within blah, blah, blah. And obviously, some things have to adjust, because when you get to actually doing it, you go, oh, wait, there's a huge oak tree here where the plat map surveys the easements. We've got to go around it, but that shouldn't change the feasibility of the entire thing, so.
And I appreciate, Hunter, all the work you're doing and helping, work through that. But I think we should definitely, obviously, it's going to be a regular topic on our agenda, but before it goes to council, I want to make sure we're all in the loop on this too.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense to take into account, if we have a 100-foot buffer and for some reason it's 5 feet away from somebody's property line, then
Let's
yes,
mess with
of
it, yes.
course, let's, mitigate any impacts that we can, but that shouldn't kill the whole project.
And the last thing I'll say is, the other thing is that part of their development approval, they did or will be donating 2.25 acres to the village for a park, and that's where it gets really close to the property line, is where that buffer is abutting that park. So in theory, we can shoot it up towards the area of the park if we wanted to, and then come down and really, look at it. Like I said, we walked it. I think there's plenty of opportunity out there. Jones Holmes is, like I said, still the developer and the current HOA, and open for anything that they can do to help assist, relocate it and get that properly documented. And it's a whole lot easier to do it now than after the fact as well. So regardless, what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to get all that taken care of and everything redocumented and all that stuff, and then ultimately, council will just have to approve the contract to do the actual trail construction.
Thank you. Okay, Public Works, we don't have anyone from Public Works, so last up on the reports is John. I'm sure you've got some good updates here.
I was going to mention a couple of things that, are pertinent to PRG. Yeah, I got it now. Couple of things that were pertinent to PRG. Hunter did just mention during public comment. We did have a gentleman speak on behalf of some of the homeowners in Heritage that discussed some concerns about that trail. But it was public comment, so council wasn't really there to respond, but did just want to note that. One important thing that we discussed is the process that we're going through. Of course, you all know Christina is going to be leaving by the end of this week, really, and we're all very sorry to see her go, but we have been working on an interim village manager, and then we're starting a process to go through what will be a permanent replacement, and we're working with Central Line of Government to do that. So if any of your past lives, of people that may be interested, we'll be posting, this in numerous different areas, but also there's going to be a brochure that will be available that can be distributed. So if you do happen, in your personal lives to know folks that may have interest in that and have the certifications, of course, and expertise, that's certainly an opportunity.
What happens on Monday morning?
On Monday morning, there's a big list on Christina's board that that our new interim manager will really have to jump right into the fire.
There is a person?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is a person that will be starting Monday. A couple of us as council people did some initial triage interviews of the interim, for the interim role. We had a number of good candidates, some who might even be considered for a permanent role, but we did settle on one person for this interim role who has kind of had experience kind of coming in, and it seems to have good project management experience. I think more than anything, especially some of the items that we're working with, whether it be Houston Ross Park, things of that nature, is we want to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. I will say, in addition to her right board that she has her list on, Christina's also done a very good job in communicating to council any of the number of other things that she's juggling balls in the air, and has staff involved, just to make sure that we don't have things fall through the cracks to the best degree that we can. One other thing that was discussed, and as you may or may not be aware, on one of the other boards, on planning board, we had a situation where one of the planning board members had their email kind of spoofed, where somebody, we don't know who, and actually the sheriff's office is looking into it, but somebody kind of changed, their email address and changed one letter or one punctuation point or the extension, and was basically kind of posing themselves as the planning board member when it was not a planning board member, and they were conversing, with people within the village council as well as village manager and so forth. So the discussion was around what we should do about our boards and their email addresses. And I think the guidance in the past has been, when you come on to either PRG or planning board, that you may want to create a separate email specifically for that, because there are requirements that we do have as a village to be able, if we need to get information or documents that have been shared internally and things like that, we can get FOIA requests that we need to faithfully respond to and things of that nature. So, I would take this moment just to remind folks, if you haven't created a specific email just for, your service here on the PRG board, that is probably something that I would do, just so you can kind of bifurcate that, rather than have it intermixed in all your personal emails and things like that.
That isn't a requirement, but it could make things easier for responding to record requests, because you are responsible for your own records. Again, you're not required to do that, but some members have opted to.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. There was a discussion of whether or not it would make sense for the village to provide everyone with a marvin.gov email address and so forth. Just to have that for council, it's essentially about $7,600.
That was for council and staff.
For council and staff, it's about $76. To do it for just the other boards, where we have people kind of coming to terms or resigning or leaving or different things, it would cost almost another $5,600 per year. Just
can't recommend it.
Just to do that. So, at this point, we're going to kind of, and we're also kind of finding the guidance of what we see happening with most other municipalities as well. Our other understanding is that other municipalities aren't necessarily providing governmental email addresses either. But I just wanted to bring those things up kind of as a reminder, and as Austin said, probably a best practice for anyone on the boards to just create a Gmail account or something that might be, Christina Traub at marvinprg.com, .gmail.com
Make
or
sure you
something
let
like
me
that.
know if you have a new email address, because I won't know, and you will not hear from me. Sorry, we are running short on time again.
Can I ask, John, in some public comments, we obviously heard there were some more discussions related to Greenways last night. Is there anything you can speak to that? Because I haven't had a chance to review what happened.
In public comment today, the only thing that I can say is what was said coming out of our closed session, which is that council has provided back a, I guess, I forget the exact term, but kind of a marked up letter to support the return of an easement that has been in litigation and so forth. So it was just that the council did take action on, kind of the negotiations that have been ongoing in that. So there's nothing fully settled at this point, I guess I would say. But that is what I believe was being referenced in the public comment today. And it was, part of the public comments, some of the public comments that were also handled yesterday by Kim Vandenberg and Mike Vandenberg as well. I think that was it, other than they did ask about the signage as well, and I mentioned, that Deb, myself, and Angel Martin had the opportunity earlier this month to meet with a lot of these folks and review what we saw today. So we had already kind of seen an earlier draft of this and kind of given them some thumbs up because we thought they were moving in a good direction.
All right, thank you, John, for your update. I know, as you said, Austin, we're about at time. Any action items to review from your end?
We're just going to get you guys are giving me feedback by the end of this week for the historical signs. We're moving forward with the entrance sign here for Village Hall and Houston and Ross Park. Other than that,
John's going to check with Firestone about the grill.
and Christina's here for the walkthrough on Thursday.
And I'm asking Christina about benches for the pergola.
And that's all I got.
Okay. Any ongoing action items?
You
we've
can
got?
skip it.
All right, and then lastly, on board member comments, I just want to make comment, for record, with Christina's leaving at the end of this week, just want to recognize and thank her for her tremendous support for PR&G and all the activities and efforts we have. I know the impact we've had with the grants that she's helped lead, navigating so many different opportunities for us to grow as a village, and especially in the space of PR&G, just recognizing Christina for her partnership. We will certainly miss her. I will miss her, and just tremendous asset to our community.
Here.
Agreed. Okay. Any other comments? All right. With that, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 11:03 a.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, I don't.
Thank you all. And if we could try and do a quick outside walkthrough of the space for the wayside.
We're going to go do that now.
Yep, we are.
Let me.
I have to.
Okay, no worries. You know what we're.
I was going to say, you and I walked.
Yes.